Welcome to Lesson 1, Foundations in Drawing. There are 4 sections to our foundations. First, we're going to practice face mapping. Then we're going to go into blind contour. Then contour lines. And last but not least, positive and negative space. I feel like each of these little segments are very important to help train your brain to really see like an artist and to see in a new way. So with face mapping, we will be practicing how to lay out the map for the face, and we're going to practice putting in some of those basic features. So go ahead and get yourself a blank piece of paper, a sketchbook, whatever works for you, and a pencil, and let's practice mapping a face. Face mapping is exactly what it sounds like. We draw ourselves a map to follow to place the elements of our face into using that map. It's very helpful. But it does take some practice to memorize the map itself. So be kind to yourself. This is not going to be that hard. You're going to keep this as a reference, and after a few practices, you're definitely going to have this under your belt. So here's all we're going to do. First thing we're going to do, in the upper portion of our paper, we are going to draw a circle. You all should draw your circle lightly whenever you plan to use this in your drawing. That way you can erase out. You'll be able to erase out some of this line eventually. You'll want to be able to do that. Alright, after we get our circle, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to draw a plus sign right through the center of our circle. After this, we're going to start here where the circle meets the line, and we're going to draw down an oval shape because everyone's head for the most part is an egg shape, so it's going to be wider at the top, taper towards the bottom. Of course our chin shapes are going to be different, but for this practice we're just going to focus on making the overall shape of the head. So think of an egg as we're drawing this. We're just going to round it down. My plus sign dropped about to where I was going to put the chin. That was a happy accident. So whenever I place my jawline, my chin in, I usually am thinking about an upside down egg. That's what I'm focused on. So I want it to taper a little bit towards the end, and then it leaves it rounded at that point. Okay. So the first line that we put in, we're going to label it. This is our eyebrow line. The very bottom of the circle that we put in, we'll go ahead and put a little line through that. And that is the center of our mouth. I do want you all to label these for yourselves as well, and that way you can use this as your reference. I'm going to draw a line to there. The next two measurements are kind of hard for me to describe. It's more of a visual thing that I've learned. I'm going to do my best to describe them though in terms of measurements. So we are looking from the center of the mouth to the eyebrow line, and from the center of the mouth we are going to go about a quarter of the way up, and we're going to draw a line. And that little line is going to become the bottom of the nose. Okay. Last but not least is going to be the eye line. So we are going to drop down about a fourth of the way from the eyebrow, and we're going to draw a line all the way across where the eyes would be, and that is our eye line. Okay, there's your basic map of a face. Whenever we draw a face without a map, we tend to place the eyes a little bit higher than they would necessarily need to be. From here, in order to get the eyes centered correctly, we are going to start by drawing in the nose, because the outer edge of our nose lines up with the corner of our eye and eyebrow. So in order to get the basic shape and idea of a nose in, I am simply going to draw a parenthesis shape on each side of the nose, because that's basically what the outer edge of our nose creates, is like two little parentheses. And then I'm going to come in right at the center, and I'm just going to draw in another little U shape just to represent the tip of the nose. It's not super necessary to do that. Then you could come under and just draw like half a little oval up from that bottom line we had drawn in, and then darken it, and it's going to go ahead and give more of a nostril look just from doing that. Okay. From here, we're going to draw ourselves lines. I'm going to draw them a little darker, but you need to draw, well, you can draw them dark because this is your map to keep, but whenever you're doing this for real and you want to keep this as a drawing, you want to draw these lightly so that you can erase them. So I'm just going to go straight up. If you're not the best at making straight lines, it's taken me a lot of practice to get here. You're always welcome to use a ruler, but the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. And it's really important to concentrate on where you're going to end, and you move kind of quickly to help get yourself a straight line. That's my advice for that. Okay, so right here where each line crosses is where we're going to start the eye. Now everyone's eyes are actually more of an almond shape when we're looking at the opening of the eye. So we're going to draw, to start, we're going to draw two little mountains essentially. So I'm going to go up, and I'm going to taper them down, and I'm going to go again from that same corner up and taper down. I would say one of the hardest things when you're drawing faces is to get like the eyes exactly the same size. Mine weren't right there. And truly, unless you are looking straight on at someone, the eyes probably are going to be slightly different just from the way we make our expressions. If our heads are turned, this eye is definitely going to be smaller than this one when we're drawing it. So those are things to consider. They do not have to be perfect. We are not perfectly proportionate by any means. So just go with it. Be kind to yourself. As long as it's not a huge difference, don't worry about it. Okay, so what we do next is we are going to put in two small parentheses again, and this is going to represent our iris. So you notice I have not drawn in the bottom portion of the eye. And a lot of times when I'm mapping, I don't necessarily do that for a reason. I like to define the under part of the eye more so with the shape of the cheek. So right now I am okay with the way my eyes look, especially because I'm not trying to make it look like someone in particular. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw a little pupil right in the center. I'm just starting small, guessing about the center point, and just eyeballing it as I go. No pun intended. Okay, we're going to throw in a couple little eyelashes. Whenever I draw eyelashes, I'm going to draw me an extra line up here. If this is the top of my eye, I'm going to start at about the middle point, and I'm going to touch the line. I'm going to pull downward, and I'm going to flick upward. And that's going to give the illusion that it's curling out and up. So pull down, go up, pull down, go up. And it makes it look like it's curving just underneath that eyelid. So I'm going to start just past center. And these are going to be a little smaller because the eye's a little smaller over here. I'm just going to put in a couple little eyelashes just for visual help here. Okay, one other thing I didn't mention that we would put in on a face is the upper lid line. It usually starts about the corner of the eye, and it follows up above the eye and then tapers out usually. So you're just following that same shape that you already have and giving an extra line for the upper lid area of the eye. Alright, the eyebrows are going to start in that same corner. They might even come out just a little past that corner, so you might throw just a couple little hairs that way. In order to create a more natural looking eyebrow, you should give yourself the general shape you want to create very lightly, and that way you can kind of lose some of that traced look, because that is what we don't want in our artwork. That is what makes everything look less realistic, because in real life we are not necessarily outlined by any means. When we're working on a portrait, though, it does help, because we do have some hard shadows, so that benefits us, but they're not exactly the same thing as a hard line. So give yourself a general shape. I darkened mine so you can see it. And then you're going to think about just little hairs at first. Hope you can see these. So I'm just thinking about these tiny little hairs, and you want to think about a natural eyebrow. There's usually a few little hairs that'll come from here and go this way. I don't groom my eyebrows every day or anything, so if you do, yours are probably much nicer and neater, and I would attempt to portray that in your, if I was painting you. But in general, people's eyebrows just have a little bit of hair going kind of here, there, and everywhere, but they kind of tend to taper the same direction that the eyebrow is going out in. So I'm just throwing these little hairs in just to help make it look more fuzzy like an eyebrow. So I can do that up here too. I'm just going to lightly draw out the under shape. It's just going to be a little arch up, the same that our eye does. The eyebrow usually comes out just past the corner of the eye. So just a little bit past the corner, not a whole lot. And I'm going to start drawing in just some little light hairs again. I'm just thinking about the shape of an eyebrow. And again, if you want to draw in that full outline, you can. It might actually be a little too fuzzy on the bottom. We can come back with an eraser and erase it if we need to. So same for the other side. I'm not going to do as much work over here. I'm just going to throw a few little hairs here, there, and everywhere. Alright, very masculine eyebrows. Mine look that way half the time. Oh well, okay. So, the next thing that I want to think about is the shape that is created when the eyebrow comes down to meet the nose. We will usually emphasize this with our with shadows, with our paint, but we're going to give ourselves a light line on one side because we usually have a heavier shadow on one side of our face than the other, just because of the way the light naturally comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, the right side of the paper here. I'm just going to curve it in a little bit because no one's nose runs straight up. Again, I usually like to show the bridge of the nose with paint. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to put in the smile. And in order to get the corners of the mouth, we actually go straight from the center of the eye, where the pupil is, and it lines up with the mouth, especially when we smile. So we're just going to draw a light line straight down, and that's going to show us where the corners of our mouth is going to be. So from the nose, I like to draw where that line we drew is. Just let me erase out that top messy line. That's not helping. That was where I was trying to draw my circle to the first time, and I messed up, and then I didn't erase. I'm really bad about not erasing. So don't worry about over erasing stuff usually, because I don't really erase at all. And it works out fine. Okay, so here was that line I drew that was supposed to be the center of the mouth. What we're going to do is where this line meets, I'm going to draw two little, ooh, that might be a little too big, two little circles here. Just below that, I'm going to draw an oval. Right now it looks like a super puckered face, which is fine, because we're going to trace over it. So I'm going to start where that line came in. We're looking to come out to these lines here. I'm going to darken them. That is where the pupil of the eye drops down for center. And we're just going to trace over this. So we come up and down and out. So these circles, these little circles we drew, are just helping guide us to draw in the shape of the mouth. So same from the bottom. I'm going to just drop down from that point underneath this oval, and then up to the line. Now come back in and erase those shapes out. You don't have to draw in those circles and that oval. I do find that to be helpful sometimes for people who are just starting out. Alright, so I'm going to come back in and try and put that center of the mouth line back in. And then I'm going to curve it up to meet the sides. I got a little messy there. And then usually the bottom lip kind of drops down just a hair there. And that helps give it a little more form. Okay. From here, we would start thinking about adding someone's ears in. So if you come across from the center of the mouth and from the eye line, that is going to, excuse me, let's trace. Yeah, just right from the corner of your eye. If you watch, it comes straight across and hits the top of your ear. And then, let's see, the bottom of the mouth is going to be just right there where the earlobe is. You could also probably come about the bottom of the nose. They're about the same point. So the earlobe is going to drop down. We're going to use just the middle ground here. And across from the eye. And then it's just like, that one's just like a backward C shape that touches against the side of the head. And then when you come in and you start adding in the lines of the ear, that's when it creates more of a ear-like effect. So all I did there was create a small C, because that's where we get the darkness going into our ear. And then just half of it's like an upside down J shape basically. I just traced the same shape and stopped part of the way down. And that helps give the illusion of an ear. And then same from over here. Curve up at the top of the eye. Bottom of the mouth. Oh, I made that ear way bigger, but I think I like it better. And then if you need to go back and erase some, you can. Alright, and then for the hair, it really depends on someone's hair shape. Like, I have all forehead showing and part of my head, and then my bangs swoop over towards my eyebrow. When we're looking at this face map, this very top part right here is like the top of your head. So that is where the hair is going to start. That will come off and over the shoulders here. But then you still have to decide what you're going to do there for the bangs. So what we could do is just kind of like my hair and just do a side swoop coming over. And I just did a little wave there. And same for here, this other side, you'll just throw a little bit coming down the side as well, because we don't actually see that top portion. We got a little bit of hair in front of it. Alright, and then the neck, again, it's going to depend on someone's body, because I have very little neck, especially with this turtleneck on. But typically the neck is going to, I don't know, pupils, probably the pupils at least. And it just kind of curves and tapers out to the sides. And a lot of times people have shirts on, so. Alright guys, this is your basic face map, and then at the end, not on this one, but I want you to practice this. I want you to go ahead and draw at least one more, probably 2 or 3 if you really want to start getting it in your brain. And then you come back in and you can erase out these lines on your practice ones. And you won't have to label it, of course. And you should reveal a very proportionate person's face. Sometimes I have a brush handy to try and dust with, but okay. There we go. The only thing that she's really missing is like her smile line, and a lot of times we can just create a little bit of a curve here. Make sure we see the corner of the nose there. And a lot of times we will actually have the cheek drop down like this. Start giving some more form to the face. You don't have to add that in. This is getting even further into it. What we really wanted to make sure we understood was how to draw the map and how to use it effectively. So, if you have any questions, guys, reach out. I'd be glad to answer your questions for you, give you a little bit of help if you need it. But if not, go ahead and move into Lesson 1 Part 2. See you there.